You obviously were counting like, I'm in a session, I'm working with a client, that's why I'm working 5 hours a day. What were you not counting?
I wasn't counting the time that I was putting together flyers or responding to emails outside of the clinic because I was so overwhelmed that I didn't know what else to do. That's something I didn't need to be doing.
You were doing it. I was doing it. I bet a lot of people are doing that kind of stuff.
I struggle with daily journaling and tracking, but I will tell you that every single day that I write in this is the most productive day I've had of that week.
Were you just not as good with boundaries before, or do you feel like you didn't even have boundaries? I'm just curious.
Oh, I didn't even know what the definition of the word boundary was.
Hey there, welcome back to the Well-Oiled Operations Podcast. If you are overworked, you are working way too many hours, you don't even know how you're doing it, you've just been doing it for so long, it's just who you are and what you do. Maybe you're working 50, 60, 70, 100 hours a week. Today's training is the podcast that you want to hear. So I am actually interviewing one of our clients, Dr. Jillian. Dr. Jillian took our 30-day sprint. We call it a time saver sprint. She was working 90 hours a week. It's a lot. We've seen it many, many times. I remember the first time somebody told me they were working 100 hours. And I was like, I don't think that's possible. And I did the math. I'm like, I guess it is possible. It just doesn't feel possible, but we see it quite a bit inside of Well-Oiled. Now, Dr. Jillian is a solopreneur currently, but she's about to hire her first, really exciting, her first, you'll hear it in the interview, but her first employee that she's looking to hire, she needs to, like, she's capped. There's not much more she can do. So what's really cool about this interview is she went from working 90 hours a week, down to 75 hours per week, down to 50 hours per week. So for some of you, that seems like a lot. For her, she feels like she got her life back. She's going to talk about things that she's able to do now that she wasn't able to do. So she actually gives you a few sneak peeks of some tips and tricks I shared with her inside of the 30-day time saver sprint that gave her back that type of time. So that's probably one of the biggest objections we hear about Well-Oiled. They're like, Stacy, I want to, I just don't have the time. And that is why you need the program. Do you think Jillian had the time? Of course not, but she knew there was no stopping the being off the hamster wheel, right? Getting off that hamster wheel that she was already on. So in the program, one of the first things we teach you is how to get time back. So one of the first trainings is like a guaranteed, I want to get you 10 hours a week back. She did that and immediately got 15 hours back and then just kept snowballing from there the first 30 days. So I think you're going to get a ton of golden nuggets. She does not hold back. And I am very happy she shared some of the specifics. So enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Well-Oiled Operations. So excited to chat with you today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, after hearing just all of the things you got out of the Time Saver Playbook, taking first place in it as well, crushing the number. We were blown away. We definitely wanted to interview you and share, okay, what did you do? Start to really pick your brain on that. Before we dive into how much time you saved, I would love for you just to share really quickly what your business is, just kind of introduce yourself a little bit and give our audience an overview.
So I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine in California, and I run a 5-room acupuncture clinic currently by myself, which is one of the reasons that I started working with you so that I could learn how to expand and grow the way that my practice is growing. And yeah, it's been really exciting. I've been in practice for 2 years. I actually transitioned from being a massage therapist into an acupuncturist 2 years ago. And I started my acupuncture practice with, a handful of massage clients and one acupuncture patient that I saw twice a week. And I now see 50 patients a week. And I run 4 to 5 rooms every day that I'm in there. And I'm working 4 to 5 hours a day.
Okay. Wow. Congrats. So I want to just kind of talk about that for a minute because you're still like in it. You know what it's like to be having to work 24/7, wearing all of the hats. So because it's so fresh for you, I would love to know, what was your thought of becoming an entrepreneur? And then at what point were you like, wow, this is a little different than I was expecting, or I didn't think I was going to be running 5 rooms all at once. Like, you just anything you can share there? Curious.
I've kind of always a little bit been an entrepreneur. I think in my entire life, I've had 2 jobs where I had to punch in and a clock. One of them was at Whole Foods. I was a
Oh,
supervisor for 5 years. And I remember in the interview, they're like, what's going to be your biggest challenge? And I'm like, punching in on the time clock because I've never had to do this.
okay.
Um,
Interesting.
so
So you
I've
kind of knew,
been
you knew what you were getting
yeah,
into.
I kind of knew. I've either been an independent contractor, I've done a lot of gig work, so I haven't had a traditional 9 to 5. I honestly had no idea what being a legitimate business owner was going to be like until I started this practice. Because as a massage therapist, it's really easy to just have,
Yeah.
the Schedule C, and I'm going to take money when I need it, and it doesn't really matter. But this is my first job where I ever gave myself a paycheck. And
Okay.
in order to do that, I had to know how much money I was bringing in. I had to know how much money was going out. And in total like transparency, paid my college roommate to take my math exam for me when I was in undergrad.
Nice.
Math is not my jam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It's
love it.
just, it's been a real journey in the last couple
Yeah.
of years. Finding a CPA, realizing that a CPA and a bookkeeper are different, like getting a health record system, setting up automated, like all of this stuff has just been kind of mind blowing for me. And while I'm incredibly proud of the progress that I've made in the last 2 years, I am also like wildly, like I just get really overwhelmed
Yeah,
because
of course.
I want everything to be my thing, and the way that I do it is right, and the way that I've been taught is right. And it's a real, like, there's a lot of mental work that goes on. There's a lot of getting right with me that I didn't realize had to happen in order to get right with the business.
Yeah, well said. I mean, there's so much mindset involved and our identity and what we believe to be a fact, even though maybe it's just a few thoughts
Yep.
going on in our head. So, so good. So when you came to Well Oiled, how many hours a week were you working? What was a typical work week like?
Typical work week for, well, I honestly didn't know. When I
Okay.
came into Well Oiled,
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I'm working 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm killing it. I'm only working 25 times 5 is 25. That's what I'm doing. One of your worksheets, which is the track every 15 minutes of your day, does it
Yeah.
serve me, all this? I cried. I was literally ugly crying at the end of the first week because and I'm going to tear up. I was working 90 hours a week on business stuff. Like I thought I had all this free time, but my free time was spent answering the phones and doing this and following up on that and getting sucked into everything. And I kind of honed it down to about 75 hours a week. And then you did the time saver challenge, which forced me to really like take a hard look at why was it 75 hours a week and what was happening. And I realized that a lot of my anxiety is because I didn't have self-care, because I wasn't connecting with my friends, because I didn't have time for myself. Like I would come home and my kittens are like crying at me to play with them. And I'm just like,
Yeah. You're
sorry,
exhausted.
can't. And
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
heartbreaking.
It is. Okay. So thank you for just sharing and being vulnerable. Trust me, there are many people who are feeling exactly like you, or they're like, oh, I've been there. Like, trust me, I get it. Right. So what's really interesting you say is you didn't even have any idea. You thought you were killing it. And that's very common because we don't really track the quick text message we send off. We don't really track the email when we sneak in on a Saturday and quickly, we're in there for 30 minutes emailing back. We're not counting that, but it
Right.
should be counted. And the
Yep.
time audit is a big part of, literally, what did you do in this 15-minute increment? And 15 minutes sounds kind of crazy sometimes. However, it's because you'll be shocked, like you just said, how much you're actually doing when you don't even realize it. So
Yeah.
so some things that were sneaking in that you weren't counting? You obviously were counting, like, I'm in a session, I'm working with a client. That's why I'm working 5 hours a day. What were you not counting?
I was not counting the time that I spent on my random discombobulated marketing. I wasn't counting the time that I was putting together flyers or responding to emails outside of the clinic. I wasn't counting the time that I charted. I wasn't counting the time that I just would literally stare at the TV and binge watch Bridgerton because I was so overwhelmed that I didn't know what else to do. Like that's a time suck. That's something I didn't need to be doing, I've come to realize a response to being overwhelmed. I wasn't counting the time that I was, I don't know, I think I said it, charting, like there's so
Just
many, like
little stuff.
so
Yeah.
many things,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
you don't realize
responding,
it until you're forced to write it down.
right, responding to the bookkeeper, responding to the CPA, like going into the payroll and typing in my payroll stuff, like just all the things.
Yeah. Okay. So good. So you started to go down to about 75. Then what was the change to even clean that up a little bit? Like after you saw, oh my goodness, this is really what I'm doing. What was your first step to getting out of that a little bit?
So you had a really incredible master class on, like, I think it was 5 things that you recommended for cleaning up time.
Yeah.
And I am a list maker. I don't know if that's a trauma response or if it's what. I love making lists. And I was like, okay, deleted tasks, improved communication, do my work first, delegated tasks, and leveraging technology. I wrote them down and I made lists, and I was like, what can I just delete? And some of the first things I deleted was responding to all of the emails and phone calls that I get from random reps, like work with us here, market with us there. Like we have the best advertising and you need to do this. And I had this scarcity mindset of, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. And they're reaching out to me because they think that they'd be good. So I should take no, that was the first thing. And that saved me probably an hour to an hour and a half a week, which doesn't seem like much, but all
Well,
this
yeah,
stuff
it adds up. Yeah. And what's so funny is I one time, like I'm a people pleaser. And if you write me an email, I feel like I should respond to you, right?
Right.
And somebody said to me, you don't have to reply to every email. Like when somebody spams you and it's not interesting, you don't need to reply. And literally, I needed somebody to say that because I would sit there and be like, oh, they emailed. Okay, what do I say? Maybe I'll come back later. And then I would come back later. And it, like you're saying, it literally was adding up and it was taking my brain power. And now when I get an email like that, where I'm like, I didn't ask you to send it. We don't know each other. I'm not interested. I just delete it. Like I don't respond. And I think a lot of people need to hear that because you were doing it. I was doing it. I bet a lot of people are doing that kind of stuff. So good.
Yeah, and kind of connected to that, I went through and unsubscribed from every mailing list that I really didn't need to, or I created a new, like, just junk email that I literally never check. And that just cleared up my inbox. And just seeing my inbox cleared meant that I didn't have to waste that time deleting things out or feeling like I needed to respond to them. And that was huge. I gave myself limits on social media.
Okay.
I am only allowed to doom scroll for 10 minutes a day on all platforms. I took the apps off of my phone and off of the computer so I don't feel tempted to go into them. I'm embarrassed to say that saved me 2 hours a day.
I believe it. Like the amount of people that like we don't even know when we're doing it. Or if I'm sitting here and I've got 2 minutes and I'm waiting for you to show up, but I'm just sitting here. What do we naturally do? Grab the phone, right? Like it's 2 minutes. So I'm not surprised. And that is something so easily you can track because your phone can give you that weekly report, right? So you made it harder for yourself by removing certain things off. So I think we know ourselves, we know what we struggle with, we know what we maybe lean towards a little bit more. So what is it and how can we make it harder to get to, right? It's like, if you're trying to diet, don't have the cookies in the house. Okay, if you're trying to get your time back, don't have every app within arm's reach, you know, all day long.
Right.
So good. Okay, so to recap, just deleting a lot of stuff, it sounds like, was huge. I think a big misconception when people come into Well-Oiled is like, she's going to give me so much stuff to do. I don't have time to implement. And yes, there's a lot of stuff we show you that you can do. But before we show you anything, it's like, stop doing half the stuff you're doing. You don't need to be doing all of this, but our brain is so used to it. We think we should. We have those beliefs. So, okay, amazing. So you deleted a lot of stuff. Anything else that came up for you?
Within deleted tasks, those were the big things. I did stop using technology, and I won't allow myself to use it till an hour after I've woken up.
Okay.
So
great.
First hour of the day is used to like combobulate. I mean, on paper, it says that I'm meditating and whatever, but really it's just an hour for me to not be on technology. And the same thing, like I'm not allowed to use it an hour before I go to bed. So I'm sleeping better. And because I'm sleeping better, I'm feeling more rested, which means I'm more alert.
You're just more
And
productive. You're getting more out of the hours you were putting in. Because that's the thing. You might have been working 80 hours, 90 hours, but they probably weren't solid hours of productivity.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now when I work, I feel like I'm more concentrated, which sort of segues into the like, do my work first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be, again, totally transparent because I'm from the Midwest and I'm not really good at hiding things. I struggle with daily journaling and tracking, but I will tell you that every single day that I write in this is the most productive day I've had of that week. So even if I'm writing in it one day a week, I know that I have had one productive day. The whole like eat the frog concept, like my big 3 things that I need to get done, they are in that planner and I don't do anything until I complete them. And
Okay.
there are some days where I'm like, I don't really know what those 3 things are. And I'm like, okay, what's my gut tell me? I'm going to write 3 things down. And then I've gotten 3 things done. And I feel like just feeling like I've accomplished things changes my mindset. So I feel more productive. I feel more empowered. I feel like I just saw myself like sit up taller.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's really powerful
The
to make
way
decisions.
Yeah. And when you feel more confident and you feel more productive and you feel more clear, just think about those things. Of course, your actions are different than when you feel
Yep.
overwhelmed, when you feel paralyzed by a million things to do. So, oh wait, I love it. And I love your honesty. I'm not supposed to be coaching you right now, but I want to give you one tip. If you put that somewhere where you'll see it, like if you can, like for instance, I'm the same way as you. If I don't see it, I won't write in it. And then I'm like, man, I like when I write in it.
Right.
So one of the things I had to do is like stack this habit of I keep it with me in my office. And then when I'm out of office, I want to take it with me and immediately put it in my bedroom. Because when I go to sleep
Yeah.
at night, I'll see it and I'll write in it. So the other habit is when you wake up in the morning and you turn off your alarm, grab it with your phone, go put it back where you are. And just
Right.
making it visible will make it easier. Because you're totally right. If I'm like, shoot, it's not in here, I don't think about it. And you just feel a little unorganized.
Yeah. And it's kind of ironic that I actually carry this with me all the time in my work bag, which is in the cabinet behind my desk.
Totally.
Like,
And it just needs to
so
be
it's
visible.
there, but I
Yeah.
don't see it. And then I get home and I'm like, God darn it. Like
Yeah.
I was supposed to do this today.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
No, that's okay. And here's the thing. One of the reasons I purposely made that planner without dates in it is because I also skip dates sometimes. And then what I hate is when it says like Monday, Tuesday, and I'm like skipping a whole 7 days, right? So it's like
Yep.
I just keep using it in the order so I don't waste those pages. And it's again progress over perfection. Just like
Right.
do what you need to do. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. That is something that comes in for people listening. It's something that comes inside of their well-oiled profit pack when they first start as like a kickoff, because a lot of people don't have priorities organized. They don't know what they're going to do today. They're not reflecting. They're not looking at what worked, what didn't. And it's just a way to really help set the tone, help you recap, all of that. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Game changer.
deleting, you're using the planner, you're getting more organized. Any other big takeaways or things that popped up for you?
Boundary setting.
Okay.
I found that I was doing a lot of work that I didn't need to do because it kind of gets into the people pleasing and it kind of gets to, well, I'm supposed to do this. I set boundaries with myself at the office. I show up a half hour before my clinic opens and I'm only allowed to stay till 90 minutes after unless there's some big thing that happened. I'm not allowed to sit there for 5 hours and just piddle away my time. Like this is the time I have. And once I set those boundaries with myself, I got a lot more work done. So I'm like, I have 90 minutes to get this charting done. I have 90 minutes to get this done. I have whatever. I set boundaries in my house. I have a table that I'm at right now. I will not do work over on the sofa watching TV. I will not do work in my bed. I will not do work anywhere else. Like this is my workspace. So when I sit down here, I know that I'm doing work stuff.
Love
And
it. So
patients,
good.
I set boundaries with patients. I no longer respond to phone calls or emails after 6 p.m. I do not respond to anything before 8 p.m. It's on my outgoing voicemail what the office hours are.
Okay.
And that was also a game changer. It's like, oh, I need to respond to this person because I
Yeah.
might lose them as a patient. Oh, I
Okay.
have to do this because
So you were on
crazy.
call before. Whenever somebody called, it was like
Yes.
you wanted to answer. Now you're saying I have set times. It's a
Yep.
system. They hear the
Yep.
voicemail. Okay. Amazing. So before that, like it sounds like you're doing great with boundaries. You've got the phone boundary, that the 1 hour, all of that. Were you just not as good with boundaries before? Or do you feel like you didn't even have boundaries? I'm just curious.
Oh, I didn't even know what the definition of the word boundary was.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So now you're like, amazing. I get to decide.
Yeah.
So cool. And what's amazing about this too, is this is your first draft. So when your rule is I get to stay 90 minutes after my last patient, eventually you might say, I'm getting so efficient, it's going to be 60 minutes, right? Like you get to start making it different. So
Yeah.
amazing. Okay. I love that so much. Was there anything that you tried to do or maybe started to do, but it didn't work out the way you wanted it to? You needed to troubleshoot, or I'm just curious, like, did you just read this or watch this and implement and it worked? Or was there anything where you're like, why isn't this working? Why am I struggling?
I actually struggled with the boundary setting
Okay.
because I'm a solopreneur right now. I mean, technically I have a virtual assistant, but she's a friend of mine that I pay. Like she
Okay.
logs hours and she does things. It's not a full-time gig. And I found, even after like watching your videos, and I don't know if this is okay to mention, I actually read a book by Nedra Talib Lover called Set Boundaries, Free Yourself.
Okay.
That was a great book.
Okay.
Because I was talking to one of my patients about how I talk to all my patients about how I'm going through this and the business
Oh,
coaching,
amazing.
and
Okay, cool.
it's they're like cheering me on and seeing the
Yeah.
changes. And one of them was like, you need to set better boundaries. She's like, I love that you do this for me, but she's like, you don't have to, right? Like you need to set better boundaries. And it's like, what?
Isn't
What?
that crazy when they're like, listen, you don't need to do that. Like we think,
Right.
oh, I have to do that. She's expecting it. She's literally looking at
Yeah.
you, Jillian, going, Jillian, you don't need to answer my call at 8 p.m. What are you doing? Like, let it go to voicemail.
Right.
But we think the opposite. So how
Right.
amazing that they're even seeing you're over delivering, but you really don't need to. Like you're going up above and beyond, beyond the above and beyond, right?
Right.
So good.
So that was something I struggle with for the entire month-long challenge. I was in a constant state of having to like ask my colleagues and my friends and my patients to keep me in check. And I still work on it because I want to like do the things and I have to
Yeah.
be clear with myself.
Totally. So this was a 30-day challenge we did in the program. Will you keep these habits? What is going to stick? Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are now.
I'm absolutely keeping these habits. I am continuing to work on the journaling with the daily planner.
Okay.
I love that I feel stronger and more confident. The free time that I'm getting my physical, mental health back. I am working on losing weight. I'm engaging with friends. I gave myself a homework assignment of I have to go out twice a week now. And it
Okay.
could just be for like coffee or whatever, but I have
Yeah.
to engage with people because if I wasn't at home working, I was at the office working, and that is not great when you're single and don't have children. Like my life was this desk or that desk. So yes,
I
this
love
was
that.
such a game changer. I'm down to about 50 hours a week right now. Like this challenge saved me close to 95 hours a month, which is an entire another job.
It really is. It really is. Okay. I love this so much. Out of all the things you learned, you shared, what do you feel like if somebody only wanted to take away one piece of advice, what would you tell like the old you or somebody just like you listening right now? What would you tell him or her to do?
Eat the frog. Pick those 3 things that you need to get done and do them first thing in the morning.
Okay.
And just do that. Because if you can start chipping away 1% at a time, 1% at a time, 1% at a time, you
Yeah.
will see those changes happen. It will feel empowering. You will manifest in how you're running your clinic, and it just becomes this whole snowball effect. So just eat the frog.
And I mean, big difference. If you were waking up and immediately going to social media, right? Versus now you're waking up and you're like, I'm getting things done. It's a very different looking day, right?
Yep.
Okay. Amazing. Somebody that's listening, that's inside of Well Oiled, who's like, I don't really know if I need to go through the time saver challenge. What would you tell them?
Yes, you do. You absolutely do. If you think, my experience has been, if you think that you don't need to do something, you absolutely need to do it because there is some limiting belief. There is something that's inside of you that feels resistance. And if we feel resistance towards something, it probably means that we need to do it.
Amazing. Okay. Jillian, if somebody happens to be in California looking for somebody just like you, do you want to share like where your clinic is, what it's called, the city, all the things?
Oh, yeah. So my clinic is Bonita Vista Acupuncture. I am in Chula Vista, California, on the bluff overlooking Bonita, California. I provide acupuncture, digital meridian imaging exams. I do microcurrent therapy, and I'm actually in the process now of looking to hire a massage therapist so we can offer massage and cupping and all the amazing things, herbal remedies. I'm incredible. I'm really great at what I do. I love what I do, and I would love to have new people there.
And I love that you own it. Do you know how many people would never say that because they're like, oh, like, no, you should tell people like, I'm really good. This is what I do. I love, love, love that you said it. So, okay, you guys, thank you so much. Jillian, thank you for being here. I hope everybody listening got something out of that. They found their nugget they need to get some time back. Just you saying, I'm going out twice a week. I'm getting coffee. I'm not just at this desk or the other desk. Like I'm doing something different. So many of us need to hear that message. So Jillian, thank you for your time. Thank you for the effort you put in and just for sharing the results you got with it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for being such an incredible business coach. You've just been life-changing.
Thank you, Jillian.